Hey, Anthony.
You know what I hate more than anything in the world?
Other than me?
I don't like when people are in the wrong uniforms. I've been working with Cintas forever, and they have a company called Design Collective by Cintas. And it's not uniforms, it's a design collective. It's about beauty, and it's about making sure people fit right into their uniforms, and it's about a feeling. Too many times you walk into a hotel or a restaurant or a bar, and they have this beautiful logo and they have this beautiful bar, but everybody, they're in uniforms that don't fit them.
That's right. You spend so much time on branding your property. You want your people to be reflective of that, but also comfortable and confident.
It's about allowing employees to express their authentic self through their employee apparel. So many people, this is your uniform, this is what you're going to wear, this is the apparel you're going to wear. People want choices, especially nowadays. People want to feel good about themselves. The only way for people to really be their true self is to feel good. And Design Collective by Cintas makes sure that they're listening to you, make sure they're listening to the employees, and they really give you an apparel collection that really brings your hotel or your restaurant or your bar to another level. And you know where you can find them, Glenn?
How do we find them?
Cintas.com/Design Collective, or call them at 800-864-3676. 800-864-3676. Cintas.com/Design Collective.
It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn.
Anthony!
Glenn,
how are you,
bring
sir?
me to the best places, brother.
I certainly do. Nothing but the best for you, Anthony. We're coming at you at this episode from the show floor of HX, the hotel experience at the Javits Center in New York City. Man, this is a lot of fun, right? Right here in the middle of the show floor, broadcasting.
And I'm telling you, you got a speaker that everybody can hear us, so I can't drop the F-bomb. We have our logo. We have our logos up. You have postcards. You have new mics. You have a light. You have a camera. You have two guys helping.
I know.
I'm like, you better be careful. You're going to be successful at this thing.
I know. Well, do not worry. I will never be successful like you. I can't do the impossible, although you can.
But you know, one of the things I noticed, I don't know if you remember, but when you'd walk the Jacob Javits floor for years, there was no carpet. It was always that concrete. Now they have a little carpet on it, and I cannot walk on the Jacob Javits floor without my knees hurting. Within 5 minutes, I'm in pain. So I was walking around before, and I have carpet, so I'm very happy now.
I'm glad that you're happy. Next year, I want to upgrade the booth because some of the booths have some extra springy cushionness under their feet, and that's got to keep them feeling well. I know, right?
I can't wait. So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the pipeline. Is that the Alaskan pipeline, or which pipeline we're talking about?
New hotel construction pipeline.
The school to prison pipeline.
Wait, did you see how our guest said?
Yeah,
the hotel construction
I
pipeline.
Yeah, well, I can't help but see his enthusiasm there because Bruce Ford, senior vice president of business development with Lodging Econometrics, knows everything about the hotel construction pipeline. New hotels, renovated hotels, all sorts of hotels. You probably all listening out there know him if you've been out there on the road at all in the hospitality industry. He's a huge face of the business, and of course, comes on the No Vacancy podcast. Awesome. Hopefully you've listened to some of our shows, seen some of our videos online. So, Anthony, I'm excited to see how you two are going to have a different dynamic today.
Well, this is going to be fun, Glenn.
Yes, Bruce?
And for certain, we're here in the hotbed of the hospitality industry in New York. And did you know that the new $300 a night room in New York is now called a Holiday Inn Express?
Right.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I always tell if you come into New York City, you know, whether you're a 4-star hotel or a 2.5-star hotel, the rates are the same. So even on a slow night, you may pay $199 in a 4-star hotel and maybe $169 in a 2-star hotel. But if it's a really busy night, you're paying $699 in both hotels.
Right. Yep. And that's why I'm going home on Monday night at the end of this conference instead of hanging out with everybody and going back Tuesday.
It's the cost of microphones, Glenn. The cost of microphones.
Hey, we got some brand new microphones here on Checking In with Anthony and Glenn. I'm very excited. Hopefully you guys will hear the difference in sound. I knew it was time for an upgrade. We're getting really serious over here.
I'm telling you, you're getting serious, man. You're the man. Everybody knows you. You're in every show. It's like I'm impressed with your booth. I mean, so it's our booth, you said?
Our booth,
so
our booth.
So I'll say our booth. But I want to say before we start, and we talk about really great hotels and pipelines and all that stuff. 45 minutes from here,
Right.
I live. And
Yeah.
I live near the beach. This morning at 7 o'clock, my trainer had me out on the beach. And I almost went swimming, but I chickened out. And it was 20 degrees this morning.
Woo!
So, but this is what I love about New York City. Right now,
Yeah.
I'm in a podcast in the biggest hotel show in the country. And 45 minutes ago, I was on the beach about to go swimming in New York City. I love New York City.
That's pretty awesome. 45 minutes ago, I was standing here in the booth. So,
Well, you know what? Let me test your hotel pipeline knowledge.
watch out,
In
people.
Queens, there's a new hotel going up in Queens in Rockaway. Do you know about that?
Yes, there's about 5 different ones going up in Rockaway.
I
You
love
saw
the way
my
you went,
face?
whoa!
No, there's not 5 going in Rockaway.
5 different projects now.
No way.
Yeah.
Right, tell me about
The
it.
ones you can see.
How do you know this off the top of your head?
I don't.
So you're full of shit.
No, I'm not. No. New York has one of the most robust pipelines.
Right.
Actually, the New York marketplace
Right.
on its own right now, 176 projects.
176.
So New York out to the airport, down into the island. So it is Nassau, Suffolk, in addition to White Plains and kind of
So the
through
New
Mount
York
Manhattan.
metropolitan tri-state
it.
area.
So specifically Manhattan, how many projects we have?
87.
In Manhattan.
Yes.
Now, how many rooms is that?
They're about 160 apiece is the average size right
That
now.
much?
Yeah.
Wow. Because, if you've been listening to Bruce's reports with when we do the No Vacancy podcast often, you've been talking about how hotels have gotten smaller over time, fewer rooms.
Sure.
160 for New York is actually kind of small.
But that's where you make the money. That's
Right.
that's the zone because not a lot of food and beverage, not a lot of catering, not a lot of banquet space. You make a fortune. I mean, the Empire Hotel Group figured that out about 20 years ago.
Right.
And they have the Lucerne. They have all these great little hotels, and they have the Belvedere, which is a little bit bigger, and not a lot of food and beverage. And man, that money just drops to the bottom line.
Yeah. What really amazes me, Bruce, is by how much the hotel industry has changed in New York City in the last 20
Well, the
years.
select service hotel model in
Unbelievable.
New York has really taken off. So
There was a time when people said you can't make money that way, and now it's all you see.
a rooms-only business. You go to a place like the Moxie last night. They got a really cool ice cream machine that's charging $10 a bowl. I mean, that's profit.
Yeah,
And-
Christian's the general manager over there, and he's one of the best general managers in New York City.
Yeah, but you've got a space there that is functional to have a meeting.
Right.
It's functional as a restaurant. It's functional for drinks.
And it's cool. It's sexy.
Yeah.
And we have broadcasts out of the Moxie. So I don't know which shows specifically off of our past, but check those out. We got to get
It was what with
Mitchell Hochberg of
and the
Lightstone
professor
Group.
at Boston,
Yeah, Leora Lanz.
who I just saw a few minutes ago.
Oh yeah, she's here.
Yeah, I just saw her. I told her to stop by.
This is an interesting conversation for the folks listening. Let's get back to hotels.
So hold on. So I have a question. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you said 86 hotels in the pipeline, about
In
160
Manhattan.
rooms.
Yep.
So that's say 10,000 rooms. Okay.
Yep.
So back about 10 years ago, there were 75,000 rooms in New York City. Now there's 125,000.
Yep.
It's going to add another 10,000.
Yep.
So we almost doubled in New York City the hotel rooms in 10 years. And average rate has gone up over the 10 years, and now it's flattening out.
It's flattening out, and it's mostly because the supply is more diversified amongst the chain scales now. So the Marriott Marquis 15 years ago was $329 a night. Now it's $469 a night or something like that.
Are you from Boston?
Yes.
Okay, because he said Marquis.
Marquis.
He actually lives up in Dover.
So yeah, and it's fantastic because I think, and I've said this on another podcast,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong, I really believe that obviously the economy is doing well, but that all these talk shows in the morning, the Good Morning America, the Today shows, I think that had a big part of really going from, I think, 45 million visitors to last year. I think we had, 63 million visitors in New York City?
Yeah,
And it's amazing it's still going up because the Chinese influence is going down. The Chinese traveler isn't coming to America,
But believe
not
it or
coming
not,
to New York.
the Chinese investor for real estate has always been strong, but the Chinese tourist has not been that strong over the years. So them going down is still not going to affect. Is not going to affect New York that much. It's really we get our business from. Obviously, a lot of travelers from New York, but from America, but also Canada and Europe.
Well, I would say that judging from the line at the Olive Garden in Times Square, there's a lot of folks from the Midwest as well.
Yes,
And you know what? When you're in Olive Garden,
You're like family. Yeah,
You're like family.
Well, hey, who doesn't like all-you-can-eat breadsticks?
But the
Bruce
other
Ford?
thing the reason that New York has gotten so many hotel rooms is the expansion of the airports. Okay, so that's had an impact. There's a lot of new hotels at LaGuardia, JFK. The building of Hudson Yards, the redevelopment of the World Trade Center sites have all made a difference. When you have these new larger areas within a city center, similar in Boston, you have the Seaport. That's where you get all the new hotel development because you get new hotels, you get residential, you get office, you get commercial.
Right.
It's the whole package building up a new neighborhood.
So let me ask you a couple of questions.
Yep.
We're going to do a speed round.
All
okay?
right.
Boom.
Speed round.
Okay.
I can't wait.
I'm an investor. I want to buy 175. I want to buy a 175 room hotel. I may put a mid-sized brand on it. I'm going to manage it myself. Right now, I have a gun in your head, and I say, I have the money. I'm ready to go. I have a plane ticket. Where do I fly to, and what city do I build in?
Well, as of right now, you still want to focus on the coasts, okay? If you want to do more resort style, I don't think you can go wrong with Charleston. I don't think you can go wrong in Savannah. I think if you could build a 175-room boutique, Savannah's a great secondary city to look at right now. In California, we like Santa Monica. We still really like San Diego. I think San Francisco has had a renaissance of new hotel construction that we haven't seen in a long time. There's 55 projects in San Francisco.
But do you think their reputation, what's going on politically there, is hurting them?
A little bit. Just a little, though. And I think we continue to see hotel valuations at such peak levels that construction is still interesting because debt is cheap for hotel construction right now. Think about this.
Right.
In 2008, you had debt at 8.5% for a new hotel construction loan. Today, it's 4.5%. That makes a real difference.
That makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And
So is that good for the overall health of the hospitality industry?
yeah, I think it is. We don't have new supply affecting the industry as of yet. What's affecting the industry is we've had 10 years of operating performance growth, and we just can't keep going up at the rate that we have been going up. New supply isn't going to be over 2.5% in any of the years coming up, and so therefore it's not a new supply problem per se. It's more of a demand just can't continue to go up.
I was
at the
about to
rate
say
that
maybe
it
it's
has.
more of a contributing factor because we have had so many years of new hotels
How many months?
being built.
How many months?
10 years.
10
So
years.
That's 120 months.
And I think when the bottom, again, I don't think the bottom's going to fall out, but when it starts really softening, where people starting to see a significant impact, I think, to your point, I think the real estate's been bought better than it was in
Right.
2008. So I always say, I think everybody in the business says, the hotel is successful the day is successful or not successful the day the paperwork's signed for that hotel. So if you bought it well and you financed it well, you're going to be, even in the down market, you're going to be able to survive.
So this is what's going to happen as a result of 10 years of operating performance growth. Everybody's looking for refinancing right now so they can refinance, recapitalize, and then renovate their hotels. The amount of renovations we're going to see in the next couple of years is going to be dramatic. Right now we're running at about 400,000 rooms a year that are renovating.
Right.
We're anticipating more like 5 or 525,000 rooms of renovation annually for the next 3 years.
So let me ask you this then, Bruce Ford. When I remember 10 years ago when the bottom had dropped out and things were just starting to come back, I feel like what really fed a lot of the suppliers that are in this room right now at HX, a hotel experience powered by AHOA, is those renovations, right? So renovations, in a lot of ways, supplanted new development, which kept everybody and their families fed. How do you see that going forward? Do you think it'll just be a lot of renovations and a lot of new construction, or will one supplant the other?
Well, even in the best of times, Glenn, when
Right.
we have tremendous new hotel opening years, you get 130,000 rooms. So I just said that 400,000 rooms a year get a substantial room renovation and
Wow.
130,000 rooms a year open in a great time. So there's always 3 to 3.5 times more renovation opportunity than there is new construction opportunity.
That's fascinating because I think, Anthony, a lot of people look at this as, oh, I want to sell to new hotels, and don't necessarily think about great hotels that have been around a while.
You just took the question out of my
Yeah.
mouth. That I was shocked by that,
And do most suppliers know that?
No, a lot of them don't. But again, when you're doing a hotel renovation, there's so many different aspects that you can do. It's actually very rare for all of the surfaces in a guest room to be touched per se. You know, you take the carpet out, you replace the bed, new TV, new wallpaper, new coverings, new drapes, new spreads. It's things like that, a soft renovation versus we're going to take the bathtub out of the bathroom, we're going to replace all the vanities, a very hard renovation. So when we say 400,000 or 500,000 rooms, it's really a spend of roughly half the cost to construct the room in the renovation cost. So that big renovation that you do when you're 11 to 15 years old. And think about this. This is also a contributing factor. 11 to 15 years ago, okay, was 2004 to 2009. We built a few hotels in those years.
I can't believe that was so long ago.
And so those are all coming up for that first big renovation. And if you just scale, okay, the bathroom renovations that are occurring when people are taking the tubs out of the hotel, if you just scale that, it's a massive amount of renovation dollars.
100%. What's the average renovation dollar per room in the United States?
Well, average, we track those that are $3 million and greater in terms of renovation dollars spent at the property at the time of renovation. So if you have a select service hotel in kind of economy or upper mid-scale or even fringing on upscale, you'll spend somewhere between $20,000 to $35,000 a room in doing your renovation. When you get to upper upscale and luxury, you may spend 2 to 3 times that in your renovation. So if you're renovating the Marriott Marquis, you're probably doing $75,000 a room in reno, just because the surfaces and the fixtures and the fittings are all a little bit more expensive.
Huh, that's interesting to me.
So if you have someone right now that wants to buy a hotel, like I said before, like a 175 room, say Holiday Inn Express, and they say to you, you know what, the bottom's going to fall out. I think things are too expensive right now. I'm going to wait a couple of years. What do you say to them?
Well, I'd say that you're looking for that buy, renovate, and reposition, okay? In the hotel business, different from when you sell your house, okay? When you sell your house, you want to spruce it up, clean it up, make it look good, because you want the next person to be ready to move in. In a hotel, it's completely the opposite. You want to run that thing into the ground, suck every dollar out of it that you can, and sell it, and sell the upside to the new buyer, okay? So there's not a lot of buyers out there that want to pay list price. Think about it. You've had 10 years of run-up of operating performance, which means you've had 10 years of run-up of value. So the sticker price for a hotel transaction right now is very expensive. You look at the Montage in Beverly Hills, it's over $2.1 million a guest room.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely insanity.
Okay, but Montage, I was just looking at this for the luxury pipeline right now. JW Marriott's have 10 properties in the pipeline. Montage have 9.
Wow. 9 new Montages.
How many virgins are in the pipeline?
5,
now?
I think, in
There's
the U.S.
5.
Yeah. And
that's a weird question. How many virgins are in the pipeline?
There's that explicit rating again. But they're about to open in Dallas.
Right.
Okay, and I'm excited to go see that hotel because I go to Dallas quite often. Have you seen that spot that they're doing in Dallas? It's really,
no, I haven't.
It's a great neighborhood. I think it's going to be a drop dead success. Yeah. But they're actively looking for more sites, and I think, when you talk about branding, okay, the other tremendous thing that we've seen in the past since 2015, we've had 96 new brands announced in the hotel business in the United States. Since the beginning of 2015, 96 new hotel brands have either originated in the United States and said we're going to open our first location, or an international brand that's coming to America that says we're going to do our first hotel in America.
No number has shocked me more than that number he just said.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. There's no way customers can even relate to so many new brands coming in.
Oh, it's impossible.
And I think that's a really good point. And also the brands are starting to look like each other. Yeah. Even the boutique hotels. Like there's very few hotels I've walked in the last 2 years that have wowed me. Like, they're all very nice. All the new ones are very nice. But I walked into the one in Brooklyn. I was like, oh, my God. Okay, you got my attention.
Right.
Like, but outside of that, and maybe a couple others, but outside of that, everything looks the same, which is great because everything looks like a 4-star hotel. Right. Everything's comfortable. Everything smells good. It's clean. Like, I haven't been to a bad hotel in a really long time.
Well, operators have really put up their game. They are really fantastic. And one of the things that I always say is it's 98% is awesomeness. It's that little 2%
You know why?
that I think makes a difference.
Why do you think hoteliers have upped their game? What do you think the reason is?
I think it's a mix between sophisticated management techniques that have come into play over time, combined with shifts in culture that are forcing that particular issue.
TripAdvisor.
Yeah, that as well, too.
Transparency on the internet, 100%, because general managers and owners and asset managers are being held accountable.
Right.
Like a bank will look
Yeah.
at your TripAdvisor score. I mean, financiers
Right.
will look at your star report and your reviews to see where you're at and see how you're running things.
Right.
So I think that that's a big part of it.
100%. I was just in Bangkok, Thailand, and I stayed at a newly converted DoubleTree Hotel by Hilton in Sukhumvit in Bangkok. Okay, not expensive. But what I noticed when I looked at the TripAdvisor, the general manager was religious about responding to every single comment on the TripAdvisor and interacting with all of the people that are doing commentary on TripAdvisor. They're interacting with all of them. And I think technology, has played a big role in this run-up. Think about it. The iPhone is almost 11 years old.
Right.
How many years have we had operating performance growth?
Around the same amount of time.
Right. So the technology has given you the opportunity to interact with your guest more seamlessly. It's easier to book a hotel room. It's easier. You can, in many hotels now, you can sit on your bed on the app, order room service, and not have to talk to anybody.
Oh, I like that.
Most people do.
Which is strange since I make my money in my living talking to people when I love not talking to people.
Yeah, right. So and more hotels are going to you don't even have to go to the desk to check in. You have a digital key, you check in online, you pick your room, you walk in the front door, you flash your phone, all right, see ya.
Yeah, and I think employees and guests now have control because the employees are basically reviewing the management and the guests are reviewing management. So I think one of the reasons you see just incredible hotels today, obviously there's a lot of money to be made if you do it right because of the economy, but also I think you're being held to a different standard. I remember when TripAdvisor first came out, we were like, I was the first person to say, I'm going to pay attention. Most people did it. Up until, I'd say, 2 years ago. I haven't heard anybody really say TripAdvisor and online reviews are people are lying. They stopped talking about that.
Yeah.
Right? I think now people are realizing this is not how everybody looks. No one books a hotel today. No one. I don't know a human being that books a hotel today that doesn't look at reviews.
Me.
That's not possible. That's not possible.
Well, I'm sort of kidding, but most of the time I just book at the event that I'm at and
But
stay
you know
in
what's
that
funny?
particular hotel.
That's kind of but that's kind of true to your personality. You just muddle along. You don't think. You just
I just half-ass it all.
A Mitch, a creature of habit. Absolutely, for sure. Okay. So the other thing, talking about brands and
Bruce.
talking about demand growth, okay? So 96 new brands since the beginning of 2015, okay? And there's more on the horizon.
Right.
Now, why is that, okay? It is because culturally, outside of America, branding is even bigger than it is here.
That's
Branding
interesting.
is bigger than it
Yeah,
is here
I-
outside
Why is
of
that?
America.
Yeah, this is really
it's the-
surprising to
It's
me.
the connectivity of the next generation.
Right.
They connect with the brands.
Right.
Okay? Kate Spade bags still sell great
Yeah.
because it's a Kate Spade.
Right.
Right.
But when it comes to all these new brands that you're seeing in the hospitality industry, I also think a lot of it is a function of hotel companies getting bigger and them claiming they're finding white space and they feel like they need to fill in that space in order to have brands that run the whole panoply of options.
And we have a great example of that with Marriott right now. So Marriott, now that they have
30.
32.
you know,
32,
pulled
yeah, I think
together
you're
the
right.
Starwood Marriott merger, what they've been doing for the last 2 years of this is relaunching all of the model rooms, relaunching all of the prototypes, okay, to reset the entire branding scheme inside the company. They're almost done. They've done 27 so far.
Explain that. When you're saying to reset for the audience, what do you mean by reset the branding scheme?
So they have to be able to tier all the brands that they have together. So you have to create a distinguishable difference between, say, Element as an upscale extended stay versus Town Place as a mid-scale extended stay versus, the executive residencies that they do at Marriott Full Service. You kind of have to distinguish that a little bit better now that you've merged together Starwood, which was very much a lifestyle company, And Marriott, which was very much kind of straight down the middle of the road, merging those two things together and coming together has really changed a lot of things at Marriott.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like Marriott has really moved more towards becoming more of a lifestyle hotel company in general, but I also feel that most hotel companies are focused more on that quote-unquote lifestyle hotel, although I just feel like all hotels match people's lifestyles.
I always had a problem with this whole
It's just
lifestyle.
a weird
I
name.
just hate the word. But from my perspective as a general manager, right? There's two perspectives. One, the guest perspective, but then the manager's perspective. If you were trying to get a job 15 years ago or even 10 years ago as a general manager and you were a Marriott manager or you were a Hilton manager, the lifestyle brands wouldn't look at you. They're like, well, you don't have lifestyle. I always don't know, what the hell does that mean? I mean, I always worked in lifestyle or regular.
Just go buy some more clothes that are black. You're ready to go.
And make sure you don't look the guest in the eye and you're fine. No, no, I never understood or think you're more important than the guest and you'll be a lifestyle manager. But so now I think that's flat. I think the whole lifestyle regular, I think that's kind of flattening out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't like the term lifestyle hotel at all. I don't really think it belies what's really going on out there. Is that everybody's looking for more sophisticated design experience.
And I think when you have like a Marriott, to your point,
right.
You have 32 brands, so you're getting someone that ran a Sheraton now running the St. Regis. You know, so you're getting general managers that have never worked in the lifestyle brand, and now they're forced to work in the lifestyle brand because their company just bought it.
You could ask a lot of the Marriott managers, okay, when Starwood and Marriott came together, they almost flip-flopped all the management team. So if you were running Starwood brands, you went to run Marriott brands. If you were running Marriott brands, you went to run Starwood brands. And they flip-flopped that, and they did that for the first couple of years.
Right.
And the people the Starwood that went to Marriott had a much more difficult time than vice versa.
Yeah, I would gather that. But, you know, you look at the way Marriott's resetting their portfolio, 700,000 rooms in the United States doing renovations. That's going to be a massive participator in what's going to happen for renovations the next couple of years.
Right. To me, I think the biggest challenge that we see going forward is that there are so many brands, and it's really hard to create that sense of distinctiveness between each of the brands. One of I called my phrase, the hotel industry phrase of the year in 2018 was swim lanes, right?
Yes.
Swim
Still very
lanes.
popular.
Yes.
Okay.
Stay in your lane?
Yeah, right. The hotels have to have distinct swim lanes, right?
Yep.
So they don't overlap. But I always question whether or not customers have any concept of that whatsoever, or
They
even
don't.
care.
They don't.
So what does it really mean?
That's
in the
industry
whole
speak.
Right.
Okay, this is, and correct me if I'm wrong or you disagree with me. It's fees, right?
Yeah,
the
right,
only
right.
way for me to get another fee is to tell an owner that I have a blue hotel across the street, and it's completely different than the yellow hotel I have across the street, except for the can of paint. But we don't tell them that.
Right.
We also call those collection brands.
Yeah,
So, so I can get a new brand in a given city if I make it a collection brand. So there's some, fracturing of that, okay? And we haven't seen the fallout, I think, that some expected when Marriott and Starwood went together. People expected, wow, geez, Hilton's going to do really well because there's going to be so many hotels that are going to leave the system because they're not going to be able to deal with all this supply and competing with the same reservation system in a given city. And there has been a little bit of that, but not nearly, I think, what we expected.
So if we can change a little bit.
Let's do it, man.
We were talking before we went live about this show, the HX experience, hotel experience.
HX,
powered
hotel
by,
experience, powered by AHOA.
Okay, that's why I carry him around in my little pocket every time I need him to say that.
It just pops me out.
But one of the things about this show is it's been declining over the years.
Yes.
And this year it's actually significantly increased. Why do you think that is?
Two reasons for that. I think when Emerald Exposition purchased the BDNY show, it was last year just before the show. Okay, so it was really like maybe 60
it was like 20
days.
minutes or something like
It's like
that. Yeah.
60 days before the show. So last year, it was hard to have an impact to put their imprint on it.
Right.
And of course, Emerald Expositions owns the Hospitality Design Show in Las Vegas, and BDNY was brought to a different aspect. And I believe that the BDNY show, the first thing that they did is they've allowed larger booths this year. Okay, when this show first opened, it was way into the right in the Javits Center. It was in a different kind of hall. It wasn't up here on the main show floor.
That area
And-
that it was originally at is now they're creating an expansion
Yep.
for Javits.
And it was
like this,
all inline booths. It was
Right.
all 10 by 10 or 10 by 20 booths.
They had, like, white
nothing,
canopies on the
nothing
top.
tall. Okay, and now you can see you have signage all over the place coming down from the ceiling. Everything is pulled up. It's getting taller in addition to wider. I mean, we have 42 rows of booths here for the first time, I think, since probably 07, which is when I stopped exhibiting in 07. But the first year that I came here, the IHMRS show was 100 rows.
and that show is what is this show now. It was originally called AHMRS.
And do you think because a lot of suppliers are concerned about the downturn that they're like, hey, we need to get in there now? Do you think they're concerned about that?
At the end of the day, suppliers are looking for ways to display their products, and there has to be a few big showcases a year that the designers can go look at. We have so many different trade shows and so many different industry conferences, but there's still only a couple of vendor showcases where the suppliers can truly display their products. And one of the things that BDNY ran into 2 years ago was, I'm a carpet company and I have a 10 by 20 booth. I really can't display my carpet because there's just not enough space. I need a bigger space to be able to display my carpet. If I'm going to spend $100,000 coming to a show like this, I need a bigger space.
yeah, you don't want to have little carpet swatches.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. People don't realize how much it costs for a regular average booth at the Jacob Javits Center over this show. You're spending with travel and the booth and the rental and food and beverage and hotel rooms. You're in it for at least $100,000.
Yes, all of that, and you haven't even entertained anybody yet.
Right.
So this trade show certainly is on the path to being the next big thing again.
Right.
And they could get a little bit bigger up here. If you were looking out to the edges, they could have about 55 rows up here, I think, in this space. And hopefully we're going to get there in a couple of years.
Well, remember, and they're expanding this place too, so
Yeah.
you might even be able to go farther on. I haven't seen what the final plans are like, if this whole space is going to be cohesive or not. But I'm curious as to you, Bruce. You said you need to have several big shows throughout the year. We got this in New York. We've got HD in May in Las Vegas. You have the HOA trade show, which has become much, much more of a powerhouse. And
Yep.
all of the brand conferences is really up their game.
So the brand conferences their trade shows are declining a little bit. Okay,
Are they?
Well, they want the suppliers. They want the suppliers to come see their owners, but when you look at the scale of their trade shows, it's nothing like this. Okay.
Yeah, nothing like this.
And they're doing 10 by 10 booths, 10 by 20 booths, but to see the size of the booths here, you're really only going to get that in a branded annual date, same time every year. Come to New York. The show's over Veterans Day weekend. It has been forever and all time and always will be. It works out well. It's a good time to put the budgets together for next year. As I was saying to you, Anthony, 20 years ago on this show, general managers came with their checkbooks and they bought products on the floor, and it was show sale kind of scenario. And today, I'm certain that there are plenty of transactions occurring, just in a little bit of a different model.
Do you know where there's another place that vendors could get in front of hotel people?
Yeah, I would say maybe advertising on Checking In with Anthony and Glenn would be a
Maybe.
great way to do it.
Or the No Vacancy Podcast with
Well,
Glenn
we-
Hausman.
well,
Listen,
we got to pimp a little Checking In with Anthony.
No, and I've said it before, but honestly, everybody's listening to this podcast. Why wouldn't you advertise here, right? That's
Yeah.
why people are advertising. But anyway, so everyone comes here to get in front of hoteliers.
Yep.
And I mean, it's a lot of work. One of the things, you spend all this money, $100,000 for a booth, you get in front of all these people, and then your salespeople are talking to each other.
Right. I see that all the time.
Yeah, walk down the aisle.
Well, there's always networking that has to occur, okay? And
They're
that's
networking with
part
each
of
other.
it.
That's
Well,
the
it's
problem.
it's the networking that happens at 3 a.m. is what the problem really is.
Tell us how you really feel, Glenn.
A network and drinking, not a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, Bruce, I don't think people necessarily know what you do. Obviously, you know every single hotel project in the known universe, but how does that really relate to what you guys do?
So we're going to monitor all the hotel real estate, and we're not tracking operating performance. We're not tracking what's happening in the hotel. We track aspects of the real estate. So we collect about 150 fields of information on every property, from who owns it to who operates it to how old it is to when was the last time it was renovated to when was it joined that brand to the market that it's in, details about the property. And we use industry standards on chain scale. So a luxury branded hotel, a St. Regis is always a luxury everywhere it is. A Courtyard by Marriott is always an upscale hotel wherever it is. And so we maintain about 125,000 real estate records all over the world in a big database we host online.
Wow.
That owners can relate to. So if they want, what's happening in Chicago, what's happening in New York, they can get a report for that. If they operate in 20 markets, they can have new supply analysis for those 20 markets. If you're a supplier and you want to call on all the Courtyard owners, I can help you with that. If you're a supplier and you want to call on all of the full-service hotel projects across the country, who's designing it, who's constructing it, who's developing it, I have the detail for you.
You know what's interesting?
Yeah.
There's a new company that I know that's opening called Hospitality Success.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Owned by a little Italian guy, and we would like to know all the new hotels opening so we can. We have something called Hospitality Success where we don't call it a management company, we call it a learning company because I don't want to manage your hotel.
Right.
I want you to. I want to teach you how to run your
So
hotel.
when they're going to have the pre-opening office, right? So
Right.
6 to 9 months before the hotel's going to open, you want to know when the general manager is appointed on site, maybe a little bit further in advance of that. You want to call the CFO of the company and tell them about what you're doing.
So can you send that list to my
Very
email right now?
specific. Very specific.
Can you send that
Anthony.
right
Yes.
to me right now?
Let's
Okay.
talk about that.
Me and Jeremy Pinkerton. Make sure you send to either me or Jeremy at anthonymelcurry.com.
Oh boy.
The key here is that everything that we do is a la carte. Okay, so you don't want necessarily Holiday Inn Express, but if it's a 4 or 5 star hotel, branded or unbranded hotel that's under construction and going to open in the next 12 months, specifically a couple hundred projects or a couple hundred opportunities, that fits what you want. And we can
Absolutely.
deliver that.
Okay, fantastic. And I can't stress this enough. You are the person that people want to be talking to because, I mean, when we're in pre-construction, and you have to hit it right? If you're doing it like when the dirt's still kind of, getting settled, people aren't paying attention. But when it's a little further down the road at the right time, I mean, they're literally sitting in their office going, where do I get all this crap?
That's a lot of the experience that we bring to the table.
timing.
So the time that you want to sell a TV is different from the time you want to sell a bed. It's different from the time you want to sell the faucet. It's different from the time you want to sell the carpet. And all of that leads to, the perfect time with the decision maker, okay? Because the guy who's going to buy the faucet's probably going to be the contractor. It might be specified by the designer, but ultimately the contractor's going to buy it, the plumber's going to buy it.
And you want to convince them to buy the TV earlier because what happens is when they're getting ready for the TVs, they're out of money.
Right.
Very
That's
true.
why you gotta check out my good friends over at Almo. They can help distribute those Samsung TVs to you, and I love those guys over at Samsung.
But you think about the technology that goes into a hotel room today, and really building a smart hotel is one of the things that I think is going to be
Who's doing it the
more
best?
and more progressive.
Who's
more
doing
and
it the
more
best?
progressive. It's hard to say. I mean, because the aspects of tech are really kind of company-driven versus brand-driven. So you have to have depth on the roster, if you will. You have to have brands up and down the chain scales. So I think the company that, like Hilton invested a lot in online check-in. They invested a lot in the digital key, and they're really kind of probably a half a step ahead of a lot of the other companies in that aspect, but it's still not all over their brands, and it's still not in every hotel. It's expensive. You got to change out all the locks, you got to change out all the elevators, you got to put new tech in, so it's time intensive.
But people are looking for it now. So before I asked you where is the hot market, where would you invest? Now I'm going to ask you where are the markets that have cooled off a little bit.
Well, so Nashville, pour a bucket of water on that one. Too
Why?
much hotel supply. Okay,
That's not. I'm actually surprised to
Yeah.
hear that because it has been robust for so long. It created the false sense that it would never end.
Well, it's going to be soft for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And it's just the fact that they've opened so many hotels. And you talk about New York and the percentage increase in supply in New York. In Nashville, they have 2.5 times the supply in the past 13 years.
Yeah.
Well, I just came from Nashville a couple of weeks ago.
A lot of cool new hotels, though.
There's two things I know. There's two things I noticed. A lot of cool new hotels, and a lot of people on scooters are getting hit by cars.
Well, that's also happening in a lot of cities. But the other city, you may have seen last week, Lawrence Geller had some not so nice things to say about Chicago.
Lawrence Geller usually has not so nice things to say.
And
Tell people who he is. so people
part
know.
of that is too much new supply in the urban core of Chicago. And Chicago's never been an 80% occupancy market.
Right.
It's always been a Midwest kind of mid-60s market. But the occupancy can't get over 70 in Chicago. Too many new hotels.
Yeah.
And so he actually it's the Waldorf in Chicago that's now in bankruptcy.
Wow. Why don't you give us a rundown on Lawrence Geller?
Do I have to?
No. do the crib notes.
So he's owned hotels for a long time. Lawrence, I think, has actually owned the Hotel Del Coronado 3 different times. But he was formerly the president, chairman of Strategic Hotel Capital, who sold to Blackstone a number of years ago. But he's also now owns a few hotels in Chicago with some partners. But Larry's been in the business for a long time, and has been past chairman of IRAFAC, and you'll hear him at the Alice Conference again this year, still doing his panel. So a financial guru in the hotel business, and that it's an aspect that probably one of the last things we should talk a little bit about is why is the industry so good? It's never been more bankable.
Wow.
Banks, lenders, investors out there that would have said, hey, office is safe, office space is good, long-term leases, are now looking at the hotel business because of these new brands that have been created. And because the hotel companies are getting bigger, it's a more stable investment than it's ever been before.
Also, I think we're seeing big systemic changes in society with the rise of the digital nomad and the changing ways that we work, that you don't necessarily need all of this office space anymore.
And I think retail's been very scary the last couple of years because of what's happening. And I think when you have a big hotel project, a person that wants to put in retail feels safer around a big hotel than they would normally out on the outskirts.
And in some ways, hotels have become the new offices if you look at any lobby at any hotel around the country.
Or Starbucks.
Well, they got the good. They got better Wi-Fi, and part of that also is even in a hotel like a Homewood Suites or a Hampton Inn, you have that space to have the breakfast meal served, which gives you a larger lobby in a select service hotel than you've ever had before. And so that's useful to a lot of people who just are looking for a corner to go hide in, if you will.
What's the most surprising number right now that you have in your beautiful little head of yours?
The most surprising number? Well,
how many times I've insulted him?
that could be. Well, the 96 brands since the beginning of 2015 is really the stunner, and we continue to see more, and I think we will keep seeing more. But the other one is still the dual branding, I think, is also a very big deal out there right now. We're tracking about 1,200 projects where you're going to have 2 brands either in the same building or on the same site developed at the same time. So it's really been a renaissance for extended stay hotels because of that, because we have had a lot of extended stays developed over time. But to really take them into new marketplaces, you need to create a little bit of a smaller platform. So you don't want 120 units. Maybe you want 60, maybe you want 75. But if you pair that together with an upscale extended stay of 60 to 75 units and an upscale select service, so like a Hilton Garden Inn and a Homewood Suites paired together, total 180 units, 90 each, very popular in investment right now. And the guests love it. They're opening everywhere. They're doing them in urban centers. They're doing them in suburban office markets, and in some cases even putting a little conference center in the middle, because serving these meetings of 20 to 50 people in an upscale hotel, very profitable business, and we're seeing a lot of that now because the mobile society that we have become. We don't report to the office 9 to 5, 5 days a week anymore. And it's really kind of changed hotel demand long term. And it's just an exciting time in the industry today.
Do you find that hotel owners are looking more for management companies now, or they're trying to basically build their own team?
I think we see more third-party management every day.
Okay.
No question about that. We've even seen some mergers of third-party management companies with Ambridge and Interstate as a very good example. And I think we're likely to see more of that because bigger is better. Just ask Arnie Sorensen, he would tell you that. So, hey, it's been great to be with you guys.
Yeah, man.
today.
All right,
Thanks
so
so much for the
well,
invitation.
before we wrap up, we always ask our guests on this show to share something that we don't know about them. So tell us something we don't know, Bruce Ford.
Something you don't know. Well, I enjoy the left side of the airplane, and and I'm big on that. And so far this year, I have stayed in 49 different hotel brands all over the world.
Wow.
And I make it my mission to try a lot of different ones every year so that I can come on here and have something to say about each of them. So,
What's the most unique? I'm not going to say better, worse. What's the one that you were like, okay, there's something to this?
yeah, I'm telling you, I'm really liking DoubleTree right now.
Yeah?
I would say that I think they've got a great mix of modern and a great mix of good tech, and the food and beverage has really upgraded at
Wow, that's
at
interesting
DoubleTree.
because when you said it, my mouth hit the floor because they've needed a big shakeout for a long time.
I think the new ones I've stayed in are really good.
they were living on the cookie for too long.
Good job, Larry.
Hey, I think they got that cookie up in space now.
Hey.
Yeah, so Anthony, tell us something about you that we don't know.
You don't know that this morning at 7 a.m., my trainer had me on the beach, and he went into the water, and it was 20 degrees with the wind chill factor, and I didn't go in. So I feel like a wuss right now. But I'm a very warm, comfortable wuss.
Well, neither Bruce or I worked out at all, so you can feel good about that.
So tell us something we don't know about you.
I'm gonna bring in a little Bruce Ford into the something you don't know, but I think Bruce was my first ever, along with this other guy that we're friends with, my first ever industry buddy, and we're still at it over 20 plus years later.
Yeah, 96, I think we met.
So now that you said that, right? We're gonna have a little Glenn moment.
Uh-huh.
Look at Glenn 20 years ago and look at him now. Did you ever think he had the intelligence to get to this level? I didn't.
I encourage him every single day, Anthony.
You do, right?
Every single
You're probably
day.
right after my phone call.
You and I,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
working both sides. You live a little south, I live a little north. We squeeze Glenn in the middle.
Yeah, you should have seen 1996 Glenn go to these conferences with my
Gosh.
my shaggy hair and
Back
my
when you used
backpack
to
over
carry
one
a
shoulder.
hotel business
You know what's kind of
bag,
cute
right?
about Glenn? That he doesn't know he's a rock star in the hotel industry.
Well, stop pumping him up, all right? Jeez.
All right, Bruce. Good shameless plug from you. How can we find you at Lodging Econometrics?
BFINNH and Twitter. We're here at the Hotel Experience. We'll see you again in January at Alice. If you're working on your budget and you're thinking you need more business in the hotel business, give Lodging Econometrics a call. You can find us all over the web. And it was a pleasure again, Glenn. Thank you so much.
Thank Anthony, too. It's his,
Thank you, Anthony.
yeah.
Well, do you notice? I didn't want to say it, but since you did that, do you notice the entire show he looked at you, didn't look at me
Well,
once?
the funny thing is, because Bruce and I have done so many shows together for my other series, No Vacancy, that we've kind of have this thing going on. So it's really interesting to me to see us and our thing, and me and Bruce
I
and
didn't
that
take
thing.
it personal at all. He's never allowed on the show again. I never take it personal.
Anthony, how can we find you?
You can find me anywhere you want to be on the internet at Anthony Hotels. What do you think about the new mics?
I think I love these new mics. I'm so excited. They have been on back order. They were on a boat coming from some other country, probably China or something like that, for way too long. They got here just in time for HX, the hotel experience powered by AHOA, and I couldn't be more excited.
So where can we find you?
You can find me at Traveling Glenn anywhere online, but also check our No Vacancy podcast, check our Hotel Tech podcast, check out the Business Hotels Podcast and Hotel Design Podcast. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow us on Facebook. We got separate pages for checking in. And for the No Vacancy channel, I want to thank you guys for being here. So for Bruce, Anthony, and myself, thanks for checking in.
It's checking in with Anthony and Glenn, teaching you to be the hotelier that you wanna be. It's checking in with Anthony